From the moment we open our eyes to the world, we are taught to conquer it, to manage time, to win attention, to shape events, to control what people think, say, and do. But the more we grasp for power over the outer world, the more it slips through our fingers like dry sand. Epictetus knew this, a man born into slavery, a body broken, yet a mind free. He saw that the deepest suffering does not come from what happens, but from the illusion that we could have made it otherwise. Imagine a man standing in a storm, yelling at the wind to stop. His clothes soaked, his voice drowned. He believes he is failing because the wind keeps blowing. But the truth is simpler, the wind was never his to command. What destroys us is not the world, but our resistance to its nature. We demand that it obey us, we want people to change, situations to unfold exactly as planned. But life, like the wind, listens to no one. The more we try to master what is not ours, the more we lose what is. Our peace, our presence, our clarity. Freedom begins not when we take control, but when we stop pretending we ever had it. Desire whispers with a soft voice, it promises joy, recognition, comfort. But behind its velvet words lie iron chains. Epictetus warned, the moment you say, I need this, you hand over your power. Not because needing is wrong, but because need makes you vulnerable. To need something is to place your soul in someone else's hands. Picture a giant, strong and proud, chained to a tiny golden ring. A man laughs, why don't you move? The giant replies, I can tee. This ring is everything to me. The more we grip, the more we are gripped. The more we crave approval, the more we fear rejection. The more we chase outcomes, the more we are broken when they slip away. True strength is not found in holding tighter, it is found in releasing, in walking away when the chain begins to wrap around your throat. This is not apathy, this is sovereignty, the power to love without owning, to act without needing, to care, but not cling. Where longing ends, inner power begins. You don't own the morning, you don't own the market, you don't own your past, and you certainly don't own what others think of you, yet most people spend their whole lives trying to shape all of these things. Epictetus drew a line, on one side, what depends on you, on the other, what doesn't he? Most of what consumes your thoughts, your energy, your emotion, stands on the wrong side of that line. Your thoughts, your decisions, your interpretations, these belong to you. The rest, they never did. Think of a man surrounded by levers. He pulls one, nothing changes. He pulls another, still nothing. He grows desperate, sweating, angry. He has forgotten one thing, the real lever is inside. You always had it, but it is quiet, still, not as thrilling as the outer chase, and so, you ignored it. But the moment you turn inward, you realize, there is one thing no one can steal. Your will, your reason, your stance toward what happens. This doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful, because your mind becomes unshakable. You don't control the world, but you control the meaning you give it. Surrender is not defeat, it is alignment with what is. Epictetus did not wish for pain. He did not invite chains, but when they came, he did not resist, he used them, not to glorify suffering, but to remain free inside it. You cannot stop the rain, but you can choose to dance, or to stand still with dignity, or to walk away. Each response is yours, but yelling at the sky only soaks you deeper. There is a beauty in those who stop fighting reality, they become calm in chaos. Clear in noise, they stop wasting their soul on what cannot be changed, and invest it in what can. Picture two metals. One rusts in the rain, the other gleams. Same storm, different nature. The storm reveals them, it doesn't shape them. That's what acceptance is. Not resignation, but resistance transformed into direction. Into a deliberate choice of how to be, even when the world refuses to bend. Acceptance is not weakness, it is the highest form of command. You walk into a room, you feel it, the glances, the silent verdicts, the weight of invisible judgments. They shape your spine, your words, your choices, but none of it is real. Not unless you believe it. The opinions of others are like passing shadows. They stretch and shrink with the sun. They are not truth, they are echoes. And yet, people live for them, die for them. Epictetus would say, be careful whose mirror you look into. Most are cracked, distorted, reflecting not your soul, but their wounds. To act for applause is to become a puppet. To speak for approval is to forget your voice. There is a quiet strength in the one who no longer seeks praise. Who does what is right, not what is popular. Who stands alone, not in bitterness, but in clarity. Because once you stop performing, you begin living. When you no longer wait for permission, you become unstoppable. Power is not dominance, not force, not titles, wealth, or fear. Real power is silent, it is the stillness beneath the noise, the eye of the storm. Epictetus had nothing, yet he lacked nothing, because he found the only place that cannot be taken, within. He stopped chasing the world, and so, the world lost its chains on him. There is a moment in every life when the illusions crack, when the masks fall, when the lies we told ourselves begin to rot. That moment hurts, but it frees, and in that silence, if you are brave enough to remain, you see it. The doorway inward, not a temple, not a throne, just a mirror. And behind that mirror, a presence that doesn't need names. Doesn't need control, just presence itself. You were never here to win the world. You were here to remember yourself, to walk through storms with peace, to lose things without losing yourself, to face pain without surrendering your essence. And that is what freedom truly is. Freedom begins not when you rule others, but when you no longer need to. There is a silence that comes only after the battle, not the silence of defeat, but the silence of release, of no longer needing to win, to prove, to chase. Epictetus taught this without raising his voice. He didn't preach from palaces, he didn't wear robes of gold. His strength was quiet, unshakable. It came not from victory, but from non-resistance. We are taught that freedom comes with more options, more status, more influence. But real freedom often arrives with less noise, less dependency, less pretending. When you strip away what you don't control, when you stop wrestling with outcomes, when you stop trying to be someone for others to applaud, something strange happens. You begin to feel light, the heaviness of expectations falls. The weight of should disappears, the battle within goes still. That stillness is not emptiness. It is the space where the soul returns to itself, a space where presence becomes enough, where the moment doesn't need to be conquered, where life is no longer a test, but a path. You are not here to fix the world, you are here to see clearly, love fully, and walk freely, regardless of the storms. The role of pain, the doorway to the unshakable self, approx. 4,500 characters, no one escapes pain. Not even the wise, not even the strong, but the difference lies in what we do with it. Most people run, they numb, they hide, they fight. But pain has a strange nature. The more you resist it, the sharper it becomes. And the more you lean into it, the more it transforms. Epictetus knew suffering. His body was marked by chains, but his soul was not. He did not see pain as punishment. He saw it as training. Pain reveals, it shows you what you cling to. It shows you where your identity is tied to illusions. It shows you how tight your fist is wrapped around control. But if you breathe through it, if you sit with it long enough, it breaks something open. Not your spirit, but your false certainty. And what is left is something clear, simple, strong, like a sword that has gone through fire. It no longer fears. It no longer bans. Pain, when faced without resistance, becomes a teacher. And what it teaches cannot be unlearned. Final return, the quiet crown of the inner master, approx. 5,000 characters. Freedom isn't loud. It doesn't arrive with celebration or grand arrival. It comes like dawn, unnoticed at first. But suddenly, everything is different. You begin to see life as it is, not as it should be. You let go, not because you gave up, but because you woke up. And what remains is not weakness, it is presence, it is alignment. It is peace that no noise can shake. You become still, not passive, but powerful, unattached, but deeply alive. You act, but not from fear. You speak, but not for approval. You love, but without ownership. And that, as Epictetus knew, is the highest form of mastery. Not control over others, but control over the only thing that was ever yours, the self. The thoughts you choose, the meaning you give, the direction you walk, even in the dark. You are no longer chasing, you are returning, not to what you were told to be but to what you always were. A soul not defined by fear, a mind no longer at war. A presence, finally free. Freedom begins where control ends. And where silence begins, the truth finally speaks. All your life, you wore a mask. Not out of malice, not even out of fear, but because the world whispered, be good, be strong, be useful, be perfect. And so you became everything, except yourself. But the time comes when the mask cracks. Not because you forced it, but because truth no longer fits inside it. Epictetus understood this. The moment you stop performing, you start existing. The moment you stop trying to be someone, you remember who you were before the world interfered. You are not your role, not your title, not your past, not your pain. You are what remains when all of that is stripped away and something still breathes. You don't become free by achieving more, you become free when there is nothing left to prove. When the storm can scream, and you stay still. When the silence no longer scares you. That is the end of the mask, not the death of identity, but the birth of essence, a return to the thing no one can define, no one can break, and no one can steal. You are not here to impress the world. You are here to become indivisible. There is a place beyond effort, beyond striving, a space where past and future dissolve, and only presence remains. You are not your story, not the beginning, not the middle, not even the end. You are the awareness behind the story, the stillness behind the movement, the witness behind the thoughts. Epictetus taught through simplicity, and in that simplicity was eternity. No timeline, no rush, no comparison. You wake up not through intensity, but through release. You stop fighting the clock, you stop chasing the someday, and suddenly, you are home. This moment, right now, is enough, not because it is easy, but because it is real. And in that realness, you discover the one thing that no one prepared you for. You are already free. You were never the cage. You were always the key. Freedom doesn't arrive, it is remembered. You say you want to be free, but you still fear losing control, losing love, losing comfort, and this fear, this invisible thread, keeps you tied to illusion. Epictetus taught, Nothing real can be lost, only what was never yours in the first place. You don't own praise, you don't own possessions, you don't own permanence. Everything borrowed will return, everything temporary will fade, and so the mind clings. It says, hold tighter, fight harder, don't let go. But freedom is the opposite. It comes only when you can say, even if this goes, I remain. You are not your attachments, you are what survives when they burn. And when they do, you see clearly, you don't need guarantees. You don't need forever, you only need presence, and courage. Letting go is not the end. It is the beginning of truth. Strength is often mistaken for noise, for fists, for domination, but the greatest warrior doesn't fight. He sees and chooses stillness. Epictetus was not a conqueror, but he conquered himself, and that is rarer than any battlefield. The warrior of the soul doesn't react, he responds. He watches his own impulses like wild horses, not to suppress them, but to guide them. This path is not easy. It burns, but it forges something unbreakable. You do not need to prove your power. You need to embody it, walk into a room with no armor, and remain untouched. Speak only when silence has said enough. Act only when stillness has taught you how. That is strength. Not in crushing, but in containing. Not in shouting, but in choosing. The warrior who doesn't fight is the one no one can defeat. There is a place inside you where the noise cannot enter. No voices, no headlines, no expectations, only breath, only being. Most never reach it, because it requires leaving behind what they think they are. It is not a comfortable path. It is not lit, it offers no applause. But those who walk it, return different, not louder, not more certain. But still, Epictetus walked that path, not through rituals, not through fame, through simplicity, through subtraction. When the world no longer defines you, you begin to define yourself. You become less concerned with what is next, and more attuned to what is. You start seeing patterns, not chaos, essence, not noise. You are not empty. You are full of what was buried under should, must, try. Now it surfaces, quiet, strong, undeniable. The deeper you go, the less the world owns you.